Good afternoon. My name is Tom. Welcome back. Today's video is going to be about the truth about an emergency fire. What would you do in the North Maine Woods in January when it's 6 feet of snow on the ground and you're on a snowmobile that is broke down, whether it be at 9 o'clock at night or midnight or at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and it is dark. So this is a video about the truth about an emergency fire. And I'm really putting this video together for my two grandsons. I want them to have this so that as they grow, they can look back on this and maybe you know how kids are. They won't get it right now, but maybe they'll get it in a few years. Or you know how that all works. So anyways, I'm standing next to a white birch tree, as you can see here. And the thing that you should be doing as you travel through the North Maine Woods is if you come across a fire source, like this white birch bark, we happen to have a lot of it, stop and grab yourself a handful of it and put that in your pocket. That's all it takes, just one little handful. Put that in your pocket. Now I put it in my pocket. I also carry a fire bag with me, and what that fire bag is I will show you. This fire bag is a pant leg off wool pants. Wool pants are up here to me #1 in the Maine Woods. I cut a foot off the bottom of an old pair, sewed it together, put a little drawstring at the top. It makes two purposes. Everything in my pack is two purposes. If I would like a pillow, I have a pillow. I can stuff this full of grass, I can stuff this through fir boughs, whatever. But normally it's full enough anyways because I stop and grab birch bark on a regular basis. We're going to go down here a little bit further. You'll see some cattails behind me. If you walk by a patch of cattails in the wintertime, that's the only thing that's tall enough in the winter to stick up above the snow, if you have any luck at all. So you can grab a fistful of that, stick them in your fire bag, and then this goes inside of my pack or inside of my haversack. So I'm going to move on down the trail, grab a few more things, and then I'm going to show you how you build a true emergency fire in the North Maine Woods in January. Hello, my name is Tom. I come to you from the great state of Maine. But this is the time of year when I start talking about, you know, winter survival, stuff like that. We're getting ready to come into our winter season up here at the cabin. The snow will be deep. We'll have anywhere from 6 to 8 feet of snow on the ground, probably by mid-January to 1st of February. And as we get into March, it just seems to keep piling up. So last year I was blazing a trail down to the lake and we had 6 feet of snow to go through to get that trail in. So I'm up here right now, be blazing that a little closer to the ground. I was not able to use the trail because, like I said, I was cutting trees off with 6 feet of snow. See that? That right there is perfect fire starter. I just lay in here. So this right here, I will lug to my makeshift campsite. Probably less than a minute, I collected more birch bark than I could possibly use. So I'm going to move you and me up to where I see that there's a blowdown, and we will build a fire out of this birch bark. Alrighty, this is an emergency fire. What's our emergency fire starter? Flint and steel lighter. As you can see, I have a raging fire here. I didn't want to have you hang around for 5 minutes while that big pile got on there. Haven't touched it since you left. It's just birch bark and them same sticks. But as you can see, that old bark that I found on the ground and off that stump, there's still plenty of it. Man, I could go all night. But anyways, it doesn't have to be complicated. There is lots of tinders, natural tinders in the wild. You don't need to bring the store-bought stuff with you. Some of the stuff that's out in the woods, I can guarantee you, is better than anything that you can buy. And it is a renewable resource in the North Maine Woods. This right here is what I'm talking about. It's laying here in the woods. You can see it's completely junked out. Who knows how many years it's been sitting there. But on here you have a rubber track that's underneath it, a wicked fire starter. You have rubber wheels on this particular snowmobile. The drive belt is still there. There is springs off a carburetor. Who knows? You might have a snowmobile that's broke down. You might be able to jerry-rig some part from this one that might get you out of the North Maine Woods. So remember where these resources are. It's man-made, but you're driving a snowmobile or you're driving a four-wheeler, and there might just be a part on here that is worth your while to know where this old machine is sitting. I just thought this was a little tidbit that you might not know exists in our North Maine Woods. Hey, where the heck have you been? Alrighty, I am over here at the fire pit now. You saw earlier in the video that this is my fire bag. It is a pant leg off some wool pants. I don't know if I said it earlier, but the wool helps to keep all the tinders in here dry because it wicks moisture away from them. Alright, so all I've done is reached into my little fire bag here and pulled out the white birch bark that we collected. I'm going to lay this up here. Remember, this is emergency fire, so you can build it as you can put as much bark in there as you need to. Alrighty, now remember I said this is going to be an emergency flint and steel. Here's my flint, here's my steel. I mean, yeah, here's my steel, here's my flint. Alright, now I said emergency. This is not the emergency tool for building an emergency fire. This is for fun. It is a lot of fun. I love building fires with flint and steel. But this is an emergency fire. This is for fun. This is not it. What I have in my pocket is the other flint and steel. This is a flint and steel. This is a flint and steel lighter. This thing will light in any weather. It's really good on not blowing out. And this is the flint and steel for an emergency fire. Alrighty. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna light a piece of birch bark with it. Should have had this ready. Sorry. But anyways, I've got my flint and steel lit. I'm lighting my birch bark. This is Maine. We have lots of birch bark. And now I am starting my emergency fire. That's what this is, an emergency fire. The sun is setting, it's getting lower in the sky. I am probably getting brighter and darker on this side, but that's just the way it is. Sorry about that. But anyways, we're still talking about, what does it mean to be a woodsman? There was one other topic here I wanted to throw in. And the reason I want to throw it in is because there's so much emphasis spent on it on YouTube and other channels and other things, and that is building a shelter. I see these elaborate shelters that, as a woodsman of 49 years, most of the shelters that I see people spend so much time on, I would find them to be very useless in the real world of being a woodsman. For one thing, it's just plain time. And so it kind of falls into this. What does it mean to be a woodsman? What it means to be a woodsman is knowing the proper shelter to build. And a lot of times it's not really a shelter at all. It's more of a place to hunker down in close to some fir trees or a thicket. Like right now, I'm in a cedar thicket, which is, it's really tight. You know, you can't hardly see through this stuff because you're only going to be there for the night, especially the first night. If you're hunkering down and man, you're in a really bad spot and you're going to be there for a week. Now spend a little more time. But on that first day, you know, you know you're in trouble. You've either gotten lost or something has happened. Whatever's happened to you, you need to know as a woodsman as to when is it time to start making a campsite. When is it time to start thinking about hunkering down? And a lot of times I think that people wait too long. Hypothermia is one of those things that will get you. It'll sneak up on you and smack you on the back of the head. You know, I had my daughter a couple of years ago. She went out and done something that I thought was she was way over her head in. So we made sure to have a lesson as soon as she got home. She went hiking by herself with another woman, and they got into a little bit of trouble. It was in December, and it was pretty cold and snow on the ground. And I knew she didn't have the ability to build a fire with her that day. So what I did with her, and this is really good training, I took her out. It was a cold day. We went over and we shoveled off her house and all that. And I had her shovel the house off. When I found out that I asked her, "Are you tired?" Yes. "Are you cold?" Yes. "Are your hands cold?" Not really. So at that point, I had her take off her gloves. And then I had her climb an aluminum ladder. Well, if you don't know what an aluminum ladder is in the wintertime, it is very cold. I had her climb that ladder, and I had her grab each one of the rungs all the way up and all the way down. So when she got down on the ground, her hands were very cold. And that's what I wanted. Because what a lot of people don't understand is when you get cold, you're cold. But what happens is you start losing the ability to move your hands like you normally would. So building a fire at that point becomes extremely difficult. And that's what I wanted her to know. She didn't have the ability, number one, to build a fire. And number two, they were probably at a point where they couldn't get a fire built. So being a part of being a woodsman is knowing when is it time to hunker down. And a lot of times I like to say that's about 2 hours before dark. And knowing when you're cold. If you are cold, it's time to build a fire. You don't, I can make it out. You don't do that. You build a fire. Get ready to spend the night because there's a good possibility at this point, if you're in trouble, you're not making it out. So what does it mean to be a woodsman? It means to know when to do the right thing. And in this situation, know when it's time to quit. Know when it's time to get yourself into a hunker. You ain't got time to build a shelter. You got time to gather some firewood, get yourself into a place where there's firewood if you're close by. I always look for a blowdown, but you got to get it's time now to get yourself a fire built. And I see so much emphasis on shelter building that two things happen in shelters. When you're building a shelter like you see on YouTube, number one, it makes you tired. Number two, it makes you wet. You're either getting wet from what you're gathering or you're sweating. And you don't want to be sweating in January up here. It can be 0. And if you're moving around gathering a bunch of stuff to build a shelter, you will be sweating. That is what's going to get you. Because once you sit down, that sweat's going to turn cold. And now you're going to be cold. So don't put so much emphasis on building a shelter as much as finding a semi-shelter that's already built. Whether it could be a blowdown or it could be a brush pile. Something that you can get behind and get a big bonfire going. That's how you're going to make the first night. You're not going to make the first night if you're cold. You've got to have a fire built. You don't got to have a shelter. I know that goes against 90% of what you've seen, heard, and probably been taught. But bigger emphasis will be on getting a fire built. And it takes an enormous amount of wood to last an entire night. So to me, that's part of being a woodsman. knowing when and where to hunker down, knowing the time. So I think that'll wrap this video up. I don't want it to get too long. And again, add to it if you want. I would love to hear some comments, and I will see you on the next video. And thank you